Hello and welcome. I'm Raziel, and today I am talking. Does 40k always win? And actually, I'm just talking about Star Wars versus Warhammer at the moment because these are two best comparisons, and it's the Stormtrooper versus the Imperial Guard. And who wins? Does the weakest of the weak of the human side lose, or do the so-called elite of the Empire win? Who wins this one? And I think it's quite interesting actually because there's a lot of similarities to them. The weapons they use, the E-Tech Blaster for the Stormtrooper and the last gun for the Imperial Guard. I'm doing basic here, no special weapons, no heavy weapons, nothing like that, just a basic kit. They also have thermal detonators, and the Imperial Guard have, the crack and frag grenades. But let's just go basic here, okay? Now, the weapons themselves are very different in strength. The strength of the E-Tech Blaster is far more superior to the strength of the lasgun. A lasgun will do about 1,000 degrees because I'm going with a cutting laser here at its highest temperature because, it's a weapon and you want to do damage. So a cutting laser, its highest goes up to about 1,000 degrees. An E-Tech Blaster uses ionized gas to make plasma, and that's at just under 3,000 degrees. So it is 3 times stronger than a guardsman's lasgun. But that doesn't really mean much when you don't compare the armors themselves. Plastoid armor of a Stormtrooper I have estimated at a burn rate of 400 degrees. How did I make this estimation? Quite simple. We've seen it burn. Where did we see it burn? Return of the Jedi, Darth Vader's helmet, and of course, The Force Awakens. We saw it all burn and manky. That gives us a temperature of which it will burn at. That wasn't burnt by anything special, like a laser or blaster. It was burnt by fire, and plastic burns in a fire at 400 degrees. So we have the temperature there. However, the flak armor has thermoplast, carbon fiber, and another sci-fi word. And carbon fiber, which is pretty much the most common, burns at basically 400 degrees at its lowest. So the best plastic will burn at 400 degrees at its highest. The worst carbon fiber will burn at 400 degrees at its lowest, which means the worst Imperial Guard armor is as good as the best Stormtrooper armor when it comes to temperature. However, flak armor has some extra benefits, not just from the heat, but also from solid projectile weapons. It's what they protect against the most, like shrapnel, small arms fire, stuff like that. Solid weapons. Stormtrooper armor isn't designed for this. It's never been a point in its design because none of the weapons in Star Wars are solid weapons. Kind of maybe the crossbow, but that's going down a different route. Which is, again, we see solid weapons destroying and killing stormtroopers, again, in Return of the Jedi. With the Ewoks, as much as it's annoying and seems silly, it actually kind of makes sense. When you have an armor which is meant to be lightweight and designed against blasters, isn't going to be as effective against anything that's a solid weapon. And that's basically where it's weaker. But fortunately for them, we're not talking about solid shot weapons in 40k, such as bolters. We're talking about basic guardsmen here. So it's just an interesting point to bring up, in my opinion, that it's kind of cool that they actually considered that solid weapons and projectiles would still kill a stormtrooper because the armor wouldn't be designed for it. But whereas in 40k, the armor has to be designed for energy weapons and solid shot and stuff like that. Again, I just think it's an interesting point, and that's it. We talked about the weapons. Now, the next thing is the training. Now, this is where Star Wars would win. Stormtrooper 1-on-1 is far better trained. No, I'm not doing the meme here, how Stormtroopers never hit anything. It's a silly meme, and it's only kind of by the movies. If you read in the books, you see how good the Stormtroopers really are and how accurate they are. And they are insanely accurate. And they are trained rigorously. They are removed from the people. They do nothing but train constantly, day in, day out. They drill, and they're brainwashed as well. And that's important. The brainwashing to improve them. It's just a different level. We're not talking like Space Marine sort of brainwashing here, but they are constantly being drilled in with how to fight, constantly. The Imperial Guard, on the other hand, is pretty much their initial training is, see this bit? You point that at the enemy, make sure you don't point it at yourself, and pull this bit here. That's your training in the Imperial Guard. Yes, they do train on the off hours because they have to, but the Stormtroopers don't have off hours as much as the Imperial Guard do. Imperial Guard have a lot of off hours in comparison, okay? In comparison. So they are trained better, they fight better. So on a one-on-one match, yeah. But what about on a macro level in the whole? Now that's where the Imperium would win. Absolutely, no doubt, that's where the Imperium would win. Given the best estimate for the number of Stormtroopers available would have been 1 billion. Yeah, that's just not even close to the number of Guardsmen. That's not even close. At best, it's 2 to 1. So there would be a lot of losses on the Imperial Guard, but you also got a lot of shots going back. However, it's more like 10 to 100 to 1, and that's when the Stormtroopers would get absolutely rinsed by the Imperium. Absolutely rinsed, just gone. There would be so few deaths on the Imperium side to amount of, it would be a massacre, absolute massacre, and that's just sheer numbers alone. I'm not talking about vehicles at the moment because that's a different video entirely, because then I got to go into engineering and start looking up some engineering stuff, and not just the science of lasers and the burning of plastic, and I'm making my Google search history make me look like an arsonist. But yeah, so there you go. So when it comes down to it, when it comes to equipment, they're pretty much on a one to... Oh, thermal detonators. I forgot. Thermal detonators are interesting because they're kind of like crack grenades. And whereas the thing is, that would hurt Imperial Guardsmen, but their armor would probably take a lot of the impact because it's designed for, well, explosions. The frag grenade would tear through the Stormtrooper armor. And the reason again is because a frag grenade is fragmentation, and that means it's solid. And that is the weakness of the Stormtroopers. I will bring up the Ewoks again because that proves our point. Solid weapons are very effective against Stormtrooper armor. It's very effective. So a frag grenade would probably kill an entire... could kill whatever's in its blast radius because, you know, it's a solid weapon, not a energy weapon, where the the flak armor of the Imperial Guard is designed for energy and solid state. Thermal detonator would of course kill some, but wouldn't be as severe as the grenade from the Imperial Guard. So like I said, it's interesting. You have two armies here, very, very closely linked, very similar, I should say. And they work well in this sort of scenario because they are so similar. But when it comes down to it, it comes down to on one, it's the training of a Stormtrooper, which would give them the win. On a large level, say all the Imperial Guard regiments versus all the Stormtroopers, the Imperial Guard would win on sheer numbers alone, and never ever underestimate the power of sheer numbers in this scenario, and that is what's going to wreck them. And there's certain weapons that the Imperial Guard have which would destroy Stormtroopers, such as a standard grenade. And there you go. Oh, yeah, that's it actually. I was going to bring up knives, but I don't think that would be much of a point, because again, there's nothing really in Star Wars with. But you do use knives, and Carapace is pretty effective against knives, just in using stab vests. Anyway, thank you very much for watching. I hope you enjoyed this video. I hope to see you in the next one. Have a great day. I hope you all have a good day, I really do. Link to Railing Games down below, as always. And I'll see you in the next one. Oh, Forbidden Planet, Skyforge as well, my merchandise, my t-shirts, and I'll see you all in the next one. Bye bye.